So Jacob is on the run from Esau, going to his uncle's house, right? And he comes upon this scene. And there's a well in the middle of this pasture land for the flocks to be watered, but there's a big stone over it, right? And as he approaches the scene, there's 3 flocks gathered around it and some shepherds. So he's making the small talk. And he says, it's not time. It's like, not time to just be sitting around. Why don't you water the sheep and go back out to the pasture land? They said, no, we don't do that. We wait till all the different flocks have come in, and then we roll the stone away and water the sheep. And Jacob's like, cool, I got you. If that's your tradition, if that's your status quo, I'm the foreigner here, right? I don't know how you do things here, but if that's how it's done, cool. And he was good to go with it. Until something showed up on scene, and that something was Rachel, right? And he saw Rachel, and she was fine. She was beautiful. She caught his attention right away. Matter of fact, she was so beautiful, he fell in love so much that when he finally got to his uncle's house, he worked 7 years just to marry her, right? And then he got tricked on the wedding night, got Leah, the sister, worked another 7 years, and he's like, it was just like a couple days went by because he was so in love. Now, before we get too far along in the story, let's just back up to where we took off at. Jacob saw a stone in front of a watering hole. He says, why don't you just roll the stone away, water the sheep? They said, we don't do that. That ain't the tradition. That's not status quo. And he was willing to go along with it for a while until what? Until something more powerful showed up, more powerful than the excuses they were giving him. Hold on a minute. I need you to see what we're talking about here. Jacob was willing to go along with what the shepherds were telling them, how the world worked in their section of it, right? Until there was something more powerful than the excuses. They weren't willing to water the sheep. Oh, they could have. They did not want to. You've been there? I'm talking about real life here. You want to do some things, but you don't really want to. You like to, but you don't want to because you letting the excuses be more powerful than the want. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Like, listen to me. Those of you that smoke, I've been there, done that. You'd like to quit 1,000 times. You don't really want to until the desire to do so is more powerful than the excuse not to. Watch this. Jacob saw Rachel show up on scene and said, she's beautiful. She is more than the excuses of not doing. I'm going to water the sheep for her. I'm going to push the stone away myself. I ain't got to wait on you to do it. He found something worth doing. Let me just apply this to real life because we're talking about hyperbole here. I'm talking real life. Listen to me. I grew up fat as a tick. I ain't even playing with you. I was the biggest round as I was tall. And finally, I got tired of it. Why? I had a dream in my heart of who I could be. You know what I'm talking about? You 13-year-old boys that grew up with this, always scared to take your shirt off at the pool, never gonna play shirts and skin with the boys doing basketball. You always had that fear. You never liked what you looked like, so you never got caught without that shirt. Like, I'm just trying to be real and personal with you. Like, I'm trying to make this apply. And you know how long that lasts? You know how long that stone stays over that well and you ain't getting watered, you ain't getting what you really need or want? Until you find something more powerful than the excuses not to. That stone will stay in place as long as you're willing to let it. Jacob let it stay in place until Rachel showed up. I let it show up in my life, let it stay in my life until I got tired of who I was and I wanted a different existence. I had a vision in my heart of who I could be and I said, enough! And I found me something more powerful than my excuses. Matter of fact, I wouldn't let an excuse stand. I couldn't find a gym, I found me a 24-hour one. I could get up and go before work. 4 or 5 in the morning, ain't no thing once you find a reason to do it. Instead of them excuses like, it's just genetics. I'm just not born that way. It's too hard. All those are excuses to leave the stone in place. And Jacob was having none of it. He was for a little while until he got tired of the excuses because Rachel showed up and the excuses didn't matter so much no more. They weren't as powerful. They didn't have a hold on him. And he went and rolled the stone.